Charge!
Hey all, Dwarflord here. You might have seen my video recently where I had an energy shield sorceress testing out mana burn mobs that after 20 years finally have been fixed. Yay! It was one of energy shield's biggest weaknesses in player vs monster. In the video, my sorceress stood in the middle of 50 or more cows on players 8 for several minutes, letting my mercenary and holy shock kill them. In this comprehensive energy shield guide, I will teach you everything I know about energy shield after playing energy shield sorceresses nearly my whole time playing Diablo, which is like my whole life. Follow this guide and you will become a baller in all ways. Urban Dictionary says that a baller is a thug who escaped the streets and became a millionaire playing basketball. You won't be that sort of baller. Instead, you will have one big ball on top of your head. First, I need to explain what it is that Energy Shield does to the uninitiated. Simply put, it turns your mana pool into an effective life pool, and damage taken drains health and mana rather than health alone. The skill level of the Energy Shield determines what percentage of mana versus life is lost. Usually we want 95% of the damage to come from mana, a level 40 energy shield, but sometimes a level 20 or so energy shield, 75% is adequate. When we take damage, the damage to mana is double. So 1 damage means you lose 2 mana. This is not ideal. However, each hard point into the synergy telekinesis reduces the mana lost by 0.0625 mana. Therefore, 16 hard points make it a 1-to-1 ratio, and 20 points means that for every 1 damage you take, you lose only 0.75 mana. So it's kind of like 25% DR, almost like a Storm Shield. Now that you know a little bit about Energy Shield, let's give some examples of how it will work when being attacked. Energy Shield has an order of operations, kind of like bed mass. First, if you take a physical attack, it goes like this. There is the attack rating check versus your armor, your percent block, because if you block a physical attack, you don't take any damage. Then it attacks your energy shield. So we look at the percent energy shield. Then we look at physical damage reduction, that integer value, which some sources stack up. That's a very specific type of sorceress. And then your damage reduction percent. And then finally, it hits your life. So that's how physical attacks work. Now, elemental attacks, lightning, fire, cold, and magic, they directly attack your energy shield, and then for your life, before it attacks your life, there is the magic damage reduction. Maybe you have some magic damage reduction on like Viper Magi or something. Then it considers your resistances and then your life. So basically, resistances don't actually matter that much, right? Because if you have a really high percent energy shield, only 5% of the damage going to your life factor in resistances. By the way, I'm not covering absorb in the math because it's so small if you have a 95% energy shield. So an energy shield sorceress really doesn't care about absorb too much. You're only going to absorb damage to life, which often is very, very low. As you see, poison is not listed. I did not forget it. We're going to cover how it works now because it completely bypasses energy shield. Poison is one of the weaknesses of energy shield. So basically it goes poison, your resistance to poison, poison length reduction, and then your life pool. Also, open wounds and crushing blow bypass energy shield and directly attack your life. So sometimes in PvP, you're going to want to maybe have some points into vitality. But if you're a source versus source dueler specifically, and you only duel sorceresses, then you don't have to worry about open wounds. Some people do that. And of course, if you're in player versus monster, you don't care about open wounds either. You just care about poison, and you want some poison resistance and poison length reduction, if possible. Otherwise, use an antidote potion or talk to Mala or your favorite town's person. Does damage to mana work with energy shield? Not really. Only the damage to health returns mana, and not much damage to health is done, so damage to mana does not matter at all. An additional weakness in Play vs. Monster is the Succubi and Bale can do the Blood Magic Curse. Now you might have seen this curse on your head and think, wow, this doesn't do anything. It only does damage to you if you have more mana than you do have health. And then your spells hurt you when you cast teleport or whatever. It hurts you a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. In PvP, you can use poison length reduction gear. You can stack poison resist if you're dueling, poison necro or a hybrid zon or like a rabies druid. You could use gull runes and a circlet, that kind of thing. In PvP against open wounds, high block is probably your best bet. It's a little bit out of the scope of this video, but usually a super geared sorceress will have a max block or a high block setup where they use items with high dexterity when equipping a high block shield like Weiston's or Storm Shield to not have to actually place points into dexterity for the block. For player versus monster, you don't need block at all. And if you're a real gamer and you use the best mercenary helmet in the game, delerium, not Andaril's visage, you're going to have no problem because the confused curse makes all of the monsters not even really attack you. All right, let's finally get to some examples, some mathematics. So a sorceress hits you for 12,000 fireball damage. Considering that you have 95% energy shield and 75% resistance and a level 20 telekinesis, this is the damage to mana formula. So if we plug the numbers in here, here's the formula, and we get 1,530 mana lost when we take a fireball hit. Now the damage to life, we're just going to give you this formula here, and you see that we get 25.5 damage to life. Of course, if you had a 75% energy shield, you'd lose less mana and more life. Now, you might be thinking, wow, that fireball does a lot of damage to your mana there. What if you were not energy shield? How much damage would the fireball do? It would do 510 damage to your life, assuming 75% resist. Sure, you get 95% resist all and even absorb, but that's bad-mannered for PvP. A geared sorceress could have 3,000 health and be able to take 5 or 6 fireballs of that damage. Although that's actually a weak fireball, isn't it? A geared fireball sorceress is going to have a 24 to 25,000 damage fireball. And so we could say that the damage would be more like 1,000. And so a geared fireball sorceress against a geared other player with 3,000 health would be basically 3 fireballs. But this is where the magic of energy shield happens. While we can take big chunks of damage to our mana, that damage doesn't kill us. So we only take a teeny tiny bit of damage to our health, and we do lose a considerable chunk of mana, but with a huge mana pool that regenerates fast, what we're able to do is take a hit, and as we're dodging and teleporting around, that mana is going to completely or mostly regenerate. It's only when we take a lot of hits in quick succession do we have any sort of issue. Keep in mind, these are PvP examples. Usually in player versus monster, the damage, it's much lower and it just tickles. But if you even watch my video on the highest hitting monsters in the game that can do some crazy damage that can one-shot people, uh, those ones are very rare, few and far between, and most monsters, they're just going to tickle your mana pool and tickle your health pool. You'll hardly ever need to use any sort of potions, especially if you have a prayer mercenary. The tiny amount of damage you're going to take to your health, the prayer will regenerate, and then your mana regenerates on your own. Although you may prefer other auras like freeze or defiance if you have a lot of armor on your sorceress. Now we're going to discuss how mana regeneration works. It takes 2 minutes to regenerate your mana pool, regardless of how big that pool is. 50 mana, 5,000 mana. It's going to take 2 minutes. However, if we have an increased mana regeneration rate, then it's going to regenerate faster. There are 2 things that make your mana regeneration increase: the percent mana regeneration as well as increasing your mana pool. So we'll talk about how this works. Some examples: a 17 aura insight is 700% faster regen. Crazy. That's for player versus monster. In PvP, a sorceress only will have warmth and a couple items that give mana regen. So warmth, level 20, which a geared sorceress with 1 point into warmth will get a level 20 warmth, and that is 258% extra regeneration. So about a third of what an insight can do. Items with mana regen such as Mage Fist, they offer 25 plus the fire skill level. They do increase the regen, but don't forget, Frostburns increase max mana by 40%, and that just gets stronger with bigger mana pools. So we're going to actually compare those 2 gloves later. So here's a mana regeneration calculation. We're going to assume 258% mana regen from warmth for PvP scenario, and if you have an insight, it's just going to be huge. Let's say that the sorceress has 3,000 mana, although with good gear you could get close to 4,000, and then even more if you're in a party, like a barbarian giving you nice big battle orders. So I'll just type this all out, and we have 89.5 mana per tick, which is a pretty decent amount. If you take a hit of 1,000 mana, it's going to take you 10 seconds of kind of teleporting and dodging around to regenerate your mana. If you have 4,000 mana, the ticks are 119 because a bigger mana pool gives you bigger ticks. So now we're going to compare the age-old question of Mage Fist versus Frostburn. My sorceress has 3,000 mana with Frostburns and only 2,500 with Mage Fist. If you calculate the 2 numbers, you're going to get that they actually give roughly the same amount of mana regeneration. However, Frostburn also gives you 500 more mana, which is a huge boost to your effective health pool. Therefore, Frostburns are better on an energy shield sorceress. With the frost, with the Mage Fist, your mana is going to regen faster, but it's a smaller pool. And with Frostburns, you'll have that bigger pool, which I think is important, especially in PvP. They're both good gloves, but I do think Frostburns are better if you are not in dire need of faster cast rate. Now that you know how Energy Shield works and how mana regeneration works, we can finally start the guide. There are several types of Energy Shield sorceresses. And that's right, it's not just one. You will hear people say full ES or partial ES. Full means 20 points in telekinesis and a 95% energy shield. Full ES may also be called 95% ES. And we're just going to assume that with a 95% energy shield, they also have 20 points in telekinesis. Partial means some form of the above. Maybe it's a 75 or so percent energy shield and 20 points into telekinesis. Then, on top of that, it can be max block or not. Some examples include a full 95 ES using Spirit. This is your Sorceress using Heart of the Oak and Shaco and Enigma and maybe a crafted necklace with huge mana pool and Stone of Jordan, mana life charms, that kind of stuff. Big mana boosting gear. Then you could have a full 95 energy shield max block Sorceress. They would usually be using Weistons because it's a low strength shield, right? We don't want to have to invest a ton of strength and dexterity and spread ourselves too thin. So they'll often use Weiston shield. Now, if you're not using Spirit, suddenly you lose FCR and FHR. So they'll often use maybe a Spirit sword or Kay Hagen's chest, which has 20 FHR in addition to FCR, and then maybe like a circlet or something like that. Another option is it might be a spirit shield based energy shield sorceress that has a max block setup. So they're base dexterity. However, they then throw on a storm shield with an eld rune, a FCR circlet with mana and dexterity, FCR dexterity necklace, maybe even a Raven Frost, and really pump up their dexterity. And then they can get maybe 60 or maybe even a little bit more block to fight some difficult melee opponents. In PVM, some might just simply want to have a memory on switch and be partial energy shield. This is what I often do in the beginning. I will find on the ground an energy shield staff, or maybe even be able to buy one from the vendor, or make memory, or find Warp Spear, the unique Gothic staff. Maybe throw 10 or 20 points into telekinesis, and maybe not even focus too much on mana and just have around 1500 or so mana. But because I'll be using mercenary with insight, my small mana pool regens so fast that I can use that as an extra buffer of health for me in player versus monster. And that's really nice in the early game when you're kind of weak. I can't go into every single gear set for every source spec for every opponent. This is primarily a PVM video, but we do touch on the complexities of PvP, especially for the calculations, because that's where the real damage is. In PVM, things are just going to tickle you, and you could play for several hours and only ever use a couple potions. Lastly, we need to consider the ratio of health to mana. If we do go base vitality and rely on perfect charms adding health, yeah, sure, some people can do that. But if you're only 75% energy shield, maybe you need roughly 100 or so points into vitality, maybe more. You don't want to lose health and mana at the same rate. Preferably lose mana a bit faster than health. If you start at 100% health and mana and take one hit in PvP and you go to 50% life and 80% mana, and then 20% life and 50% mana, then your next hit, you're at 0% life and you still have 30% mana left over, you need a higher percentage of energy shield, or you simply need more health. Does that kind of make sense? We want to, in PvP, completely run out of mana and still be at 30 to 40 or 50% health. If I was 75% energy shield in PvP, I'd probably want around 2500 health and then 2500 to 3000 mana, give or take. If I was 95% energy shield, I could be around the 1000 to 1500 life and then 3500 to 4000 mana. Sometimes you need some trial and error to find the good ratio for you. I will now commentate on some Energy Shield Sorceress PvP to just give you an idea of, of a, kind of what happens in PvP and how they play. All right, let's go over a couple of duels here. This is on my Zeal Sorceress, my Bow Zeal Sorceress. So I'm just using some guided arrows here. But what we're looking at here is my health. And so I lost a bunch of mana there, but not much health. Here I lost a big mana chunk. And then I completely lost my mana pool. And then he started with his uh, tornadoes taking my health away. So that's kind of how you want it to happen. Just poking him with my bow. Maybe I should wait a little bit more to have my mana regen, which it looks like I'm doing. I'm going to try and connect with him, dodge those nados, and boom, two shot, baby. Almost one shot him. That Zon finally hit me because I have 75% block, right? So I have the 75% block, which I'm taking no damage from this guy. And then finally, I was a decent junk. I think I is this. Oh yeah, I use guided arrow here and kill this person off screen. But look at this duel. Let's. Oh yeah, I get one shot. So let's break it down. There's nothing to break down. I just get one shot. So obviously they do a lot of damage, and one of the problems with my sorcerers here is that because it is max block, I simply have less mana. Right? If I had more mana, it'd be less dex, but as a melee character, I need the attack rating to hit. So this is a weird hybrid. We're gonna go over some legit fire sorceresses after. And I'm dead. And we're doing some more duels against the druid here. He has a really edgy name, Anal, but he was like a real GM dueler, and he finally got me. He switched up his setup to have more block. So now I think he's using Storm Shield, and so that's a tough counter for me now. Normally, what I do is I try and have my aura kill his pets, and then when he's stopped to maybe resummon them, I go in and I zeal him. This is a this is a tough one for me because I can't do guided arrow with his pets. So I got to get in there, and his nados can be nasty. And so close, but he gets away, and he's actually going to defeat me here. So probably what I should have done there is let my mana pool regenerate instead of trying going for the kill, right? And then this FTA guy, I killed his other Necro, I killed his Zon, and this FTA guy comes in, and here's the real weakness of Energy Shield Sorceress, right? One Nova, and there goes my health. And if I could just connected with him, he would have died. But so I would have needed more poison length reduction and just stacked, super stacked uh, poison resist, like a different armor with poison resist jewels and poison resist charms is what I would have needed to specifically fight him. These are my price check guides. You can watch them. Now here's an energy shield, fireball sorceress, huge mana pool. Boom, huge mana pool. Oops, I want to mute this. So again, what we're really trying to watch here is the health and mana. So you see the health, it's regenerating a little bit, and mana, you know, it technically is not allowed to use mana potions. So An energy shield sorceress shouldn't be using mana potions. I'm not sure if they are. That could just be, between duels, which is totally okay. So lost mostly mana and only a little bit of health there. Looks like that druid was in FHR lock, and he didn't take any damage here. I don't know what happened there. I mean, this is a public duel arena here. We're just it's the Wild West over here. He got hit pretty hard there. You could see from that charger. Yeah, so that's and then there's one other video I was going to show you here, which is from Cooley's DFC stuff, which is really cool. There's not a ton of sorceresses dueling in the DFC because they're not like the best duelers, so they don't always make it through to the elimination rounds and stuff that are filmed, I think. A lot of pallies, barbs, and assassins. But again, we can see, I know it's kind of pixelated, the stream quality here, but uh, health regenerating really fast. This guy's got a lot of regen. Not taking any damage right now, but and they're fighting a, I think it's a pure trapper, or at least the character, the assassin's not using any melee attacks. I think they agreed not to or something in this duel. Unfortunately, in this duel, there's a lot of teleporting around. They're fighting for the title and they don't want to get hit. Ultimately, the Source does lose this duel. It takes a long time. But you can see health is pretty good. The assassin here is like about to die. Probably the assassin does lose a couple times, but we're trying to find a hit. Take a hit. So there, boom. Source got hit and regen so fast. All right, that's enough dueling videos. Thank you, Cooley. Now let's go over some pros and cons of Energy Shield. Energy Shield sorceresses do take more skill points. You got to get 20 points into telekinesis from somewhere, which means some builds are going to do a little less damage. Probably one of the most skill intensive non-hybrid sorceresses is a lightning sorceress. You need like level 95 to fully max out everything for a lightning sorceress. And with perfect gear, a lightning sorceress can have 47,000 lightning damage. That's a lot of damage. That might be more damage than you realistically need. So you might choose to do, say, 34,000 damage with perfect gear, but using 20 points into telekinesis, making your sorcerers very tanky. Fire ES is a very common build. There's almost no damage sacrifices. It does require a high level and some form of pre-buffing, right? And so what you're going to do is have a memory in your cube, pop on that memory and get like a 75 or so energy shield. Then you throw back your call to arms on the switch. Or you could just have a CTA staff, right? I think I've shown that in my other videos where you have an energy shield staff that is also battle orders. Blizzard Energy Shield similarly doesn't have to make too many sacrifices. There's a small damage loss, but Blizzard is already so strong that Blizzard Energy Shield is a pretty common setup as well. Another con is that you do need to be high level, but I mean, I don't think that's really too much of a con to be high level. If you enjoy playing the game, you're going to get high level, especially if you don't die. If you die a lot, which Vitality Sorceress is, maybe you're a little more fragile. If you die a lot, you're going to have trouble leveling up. Some people might consider pre-buffing to be a con. It's possible to just throw a couple of points into Energy Shield and get a full 95% Energy Shield. Uh, First of all, you don't have to be 95% Energy Shield. Some duelers consider 95% Energy Shield to be bad-mannered, and it wouldn't be allowed anyways. But some sorceress builds definitely can be 95% energy shield simply because they uh, they have the skill points available to pump this energy shield skills. So if you're a Nova source with a lot of plus to lightning skill stuff, maybe you throw 10 hard points in to your energy shield. Of course, open wounds, poison, blood mana, those things could be a bit of a con, but you just need to counter for them. Some pros of Energy Shield is that you've got a huge mana pool. You never run out of mana. You hardly use potions. Like I said, things like a Prayer Mercenary and Life Replenish make a huge deal since they have a really small health pool. In some of my PvP videos, you saw their health ticking pretty quickly. You know, they take 25 damage or 50 damage from a hit, and then every second they're regenerating 1 health. It's not a lot, but it adds up over a long duel. And one of the biggest pros is it makes the source extra tanky. That's why we're doing it. A really geared Vitality Sorceress can get 3,000 health with really good gear. A really geared Energy Shield Sorceress could have 2,000 health and then 3,500 plus mana. And when one damage costs 0.75 mana, you just divide 3,500 by 75 or by 0.75, you get 4,666 plus 2,000. You have an effective pool of 6,666. Is that a coincidence? I think not. So that's a huge effective health pool on a sorceress. And that effective health pool regenerates very fast. I hope that all made sense. I know it's a long guide, but Energy Shield has a lot of complexities. So I hope you learned something, and if you have any more questions, please ask. Happy to answer them. Hopefully you try out an Energy Shield Sorceress. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions, comment below. If you like the video, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Dwarf Lord out.